British Queen Elizabeth II meets with actress Jane Mansfield, 1957. Stuart Freeborn based Yoda on his own facial, 1976. Fergie at prom. Future actress Alicia Witt, her brother and mother, Diana, who was in the Guinness Book of Records from 1988 to 1996 for the longest hair in the world, 2 meters 59 centimeters, 1989. The only time the Mona Lisa touched United States soil thanks for the negotiation of Jacqueline Kennedy, National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C., 8th of January to 3rd of January, 1963. A burnt-out Egyptian aircraft at El Oth Airport, Sinai, during the Six-Day War. The burned-out M4, Sherman of Company C, 741st Tank Battalion, lies at a Leipzig intersection during the final weeks of the European War, 1945. Al Capone and his associates at Hot Springs, Arkansas in the 1930s. Keanu Reeves and Ione Skye on the set of River's Edge, 1986. Aerial view of the St. Vith Christmas bombing in Belgium, 1944. Policemen pick up crying lost child, Japan, 1950s. A man takes a selfie using a stick of wood to activate the camera, 1957. A stunt performed by a stuntman who crashes into a burning wall while hanging from a plane. President Lyndon Johnson confronts Senator Richard Russell, the leader of the filibuster against the Civil Rights Act, in 1964. A Frenchman takes his first sip of Coca-Cola in 1950, and judging by his expression, it wasn't love at first taste. A woman with a mohawk at Astor Place, East Village, New York City in 1986. A pillory with the names of those who violated discipline at Kovrino Station, Moscow Region, USSR, 1932. December 28, 1940. This strange vessel is an experimental torpedo boat undergoing tests in the Detroit River. Anti-war demonstrator throwing tear gas, United States, 1970. Venice Canal, 1894. Tibeto-Mongolian gangster following collapse of the USSR in the 1990s. Twiggy by Helmut Newton for British Vogue, 1967. The Russian invasion of Czechoslovakia in August 1968. These children had to cross the river by pulley to go to school in Modena, Italy, 1959. Hungarian uprising of 1956. A man burns a poster of Lenin. Audrey Hepburn in Ethiopia, 1988. On April 21, 1990, the first public presentation of the previously classified F-117 Nighthawk aircraft took place in Las Vegas, United States. The ram stands on the wall. Thousands of New Yorkers and visitors attended the annual New Year's Eve time ball ceremony in Times Square, 1941. Audrey Hepburn on the set of the musical comedy Funny Face, 1956. An East German border guard and a West German police officer at the Berlin Wall, Berlin, 1990. Tuba player and his assistant. A Prussian Landwehr soldier tans rat skins in a dugout during World War I. The Landwehr could use rat skins to create warm clothing or other essentials. Crowd celebrates VE Day, marking the German surrender in World War II. The interior of a house located on a test site where the American military conducted nuclear weapons experiments. Dummies play the roles of people. 1954, artist unknown. New Year's Eve party, 1960s. A teenage boy holds a picket sign reading, "I'm a victim of rock," at a Washington, D.C. protest against rock music. Rafi Kavukian and John Candy, 1980s. Nihlimala Indian in a mask for a ceremonial dance. Brigitte Bardot, 1950. Billy Stanley, the only 8-year-old white student at St. Philip the Apostle School in Albany, New York, 1961. The Capitol in 1861. The United States Congress currently sits in this building. Gym group of weightlifters, boxers, and wrestlers circa 1890. American professional boxer Sugar Ray Robinson, 1951. Robin and Marcia Williams on their wedding day at Lake Tahoe, April 30th, 1989. Christopher Walken in the 1950s, rolling out dough at his father's bakery in Astoria, New York. Tom Cruise, early 1970s, United States. Model posing for billboard painters in New York City, 1947. The ceremonial departure of Fire Department Engine 91 in New York City on March 20th, 1913. Photograph of Bon Scott and Angus Young, circa 1978. Fashion shoot in the 1960s for Vogue. Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis during the campaign to save New York City's Grand Central Terminal from demolition in the 1970s. The first sound and sight television broadcast at station W2XCR in New York City on April 26, 1931. '80s big hair. The British battleship HMS Howe and an Egyptian fishing boat, little changed since the days of the pharaohs, in the Suez Canal, July 14, 1944. Hungarian uprising of 1956. Drew Barrymore gives Stephen King a run for his money. Audrey Hepburn at the Royal Botanic Gardens, 1950. Testing cigarettes was part of Saul C. Korn's job as the director of various cigarette and cigar companies from the 1920s until the 1960s. Saul C. Korn lived to be 70 years old, passing away in 1962. Photo from 1945. Monica Bellucci by Bruce Weber, 1991. Two people carry baskets on the beach. French children salvaging food from the cars of a wrecked train climb on a Moselle River railway bridge destroyed by the retreating Germans in France on December 5, 1944. Quackoodle dancer, c. 1914. A group of men dressed up as women for Carnival in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, 1913. A bohemian party in Paris's Montparnasse district, 1950s. Red Hot Chili Peppers, 1989. Tower Bridge over the Thames, 1892. (1932), Catalina Island, California. Ilana Espinosa, a Mexican girl who resides on Catalina Island, strumming her guiro or fish instrument, which is composed of the Mexican flying swordfish. Elton John acts as one of Ryan White's pallbearers after the 18-year-old's death due to AIDS-related illness. April 8, 1990. Ryan had caught the disease via a blood transfusion while still a baby. Police hold back a crowd of young fans outside Buckingham Palace in London while the Beatles received their MBEs in 1965. Jack McClure in his Turbinic rocket engine go-kart in 1969, racing Tommy Ivo in his Top Fuel dragster at Tampa Dragway in Florida. Taimir Dolgano Nenets, autonomous Okrug, one of the best hunters of the Kalinin Collective Farm, Vasily Chuprin, with his team, February 20th, 1962. Cesar Romero applying his Joker makeup, circa 1966. Two gentlemen and their absolutely delightful double-walking stick-wielding dog, 1890s. "13 sisters in the Brooks family take a photo with their only brother Leslie Benjamin following his birth at home in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, 1954. Nelson Mandela votes in a national election for the first time in his life, April 27, 1994. An Unusual Snowman, Boston, 1935. Karl, the former emperor of the Austro-Hungary, and his wife Zita, attend Mass at the Biatorbagi station, October 23, 1921, before trying to regain control of Hungary with rebel troops. 1930s. What train travel looked like in the United Kingdom. This particular bar car was specifically stylized to look like a pub. San Francisco Airport. More than 1,000 fans watched as the Beatles' plane landed, 1964. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. shakes hands with his lawyer as they stand in front of a group of cheering followers after King's conviction for his part in the bus boycott in Montgomery, Alabama. Joseph Goebbels awards 16-year-old Hitler Youth member Willy Hübner the Iron Cross for the defense of Lauban, March 9, 1945. Women lined up on a beach hold giant masks in front of their faces, which will be featured in the annual Venice Mardi Gras celebration. A quiet game of draw poker. Umatilla Reservation, Umatilla County, Oregon, around 1910. This kid hard at work. June Palmer was an English actress and glamour model of the 1960s. A Marine with the 22nd Regiment using a flamethrower to flush out Japanese defenders during the Battle of Engebe, Eniwetok, Marshall Islands, February 17, 1944. An Ethiopian delegation poses in Japanese traditional costumes while on a diplomatic visit in 1931. During the visit, arrangements were made for an Ethiopian nobleman to marry Kuroda Masako, a Japanese woman, found after publishing an ad in a newspaper, Queen Elizabeth II as a Young Woman, 1955. A member of the Royal Air Force is interred with full military honors by German forces, Channel Islands, 1943. Transporting ice blocks in the early 20th century. Workers posing next to the Titanic's younger sister, the Britannic, right before its launch in 1914. (1955) Homework. Four women have lunch in the roof garden on Adelaide House, London. 1934. Shell casings after a shelling of the enemy position. Vietnam, 1967. (1945). The Auschwitz death camp was discovered and liberated by the Red Army. (1925). In the 1920s, the young women started a fad craze of painting their knees. Park Avenue at 63rd Street, taken in 1958 by photographer William Helber. (1955). On New Year's Eve, all of London was squeezed into the Piccadilly Circus area. Charlene Hunter is interviewed as she arrives to her first day of classes in the newly integrated University of Georgia, January 20, 1961. A French soldier during World War I wearing a homemade protective suit breastplate and helmet 1915, artist unknown. Ozzy Osbourne in 1986. Mothers of the Disappeared protest in Argentina in the first march against the dictatorship by Eduardo Longoni, 1981. Robert Kennedy and West Berlin Mayor Willy Brandt look over the Berlin Wall into East Germany. February 22, 1962. Photographer unknown. Entertaining a crowd of children in Hexham, Northumberland, 1950. Irish McAllister from Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, having fun with her co-star Neil the Chimp, 1955. Woman cutting her birthday cake in Iran, 1973, 5 years before the Islamic Revolution. Permanent hair curling machine, 1935. A United States Marine carries a blindfolded woman suspected of Viet Cong activities over his shoulder. Fathers with Strollers photo by Arthur Steele. The first wireless telephone, 1919. A fire at a pier on the Hudson River at 15th Street in New York City raged for more than 16 hours on September 29, 1947. A girl carrying wood pieces for heating, Munich, Germany, October 1945. Bonnie and Clyde, 1933. Street scene of Afghanistan, 1979, before Soviet invasion, United States intervention and Taliban formation. Farmer's Son Life on Mountbarton Farm, Devon, England, 1942. Colin Hoare hands his mother a pair of rabbits that he shot on the family farm. Photograph of Futurama as it was exhibited at the 1939 World's Fair in New York City. Bruce Willis left with his high school girlfriend at prom. Construction of the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. Brazilian aeronaut Alberto Santos Dumont flies the fixed-wing 14B Oiseau de Poitou in the first heavier-than-air flight in Europe. The plane lifted off and flew for 60 meters. Paris, France, 1906. A Navajo man bedecked in hemlock boughs and mask of a clown associated with the mischievous rain god Tonanili. Water Sprinkler, 1905 by Edward S. Curtis.